What's up everyone, OJ here, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the revelation that finally, after how many years now, Devil May Cry is finally coming to a Nintendo platform, because Capcom has officially announced on Twitter that the original Devil May Cry will be coming to the Nintendo Switch this summer. So let's go ahead and take a look at the official message from Capcom on the Devil May Cry 5 Twitter page, or just at Devil May Cry page on Twitter. Quote, "Relive the adventure that introduced the legendary Dante to the world with the original Devil May Cry coming to #Nintendo Switch this summer." End period. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this. A nice picture of Dante, by the way. I actually really do like the original Devil May Cry, but there's a lot of questions that people are asking about this, and I wanted to make a dedicated video now so I don't have to do so many times in the future or answer the same question over and over and over again, because this is going to be something that gets brought back up multiple times throughout this year when it comes to why aren't they doing the trilogy, could Dante be in Smash, and all of these other questions that I know you guys are going to have. And don't worry, we will talk about it on PE Live too, so we'll talk about it, we'll get down to all of this and kind of what's going on. So earlier in the year, I actually made a couple videos when the whole news broke about Dragon's Dogma, and also them potentially putting Devil May Cry 5 based on the sales, and the whole thing about port begging for Dante, and if Devil May Cry was going to come, and how they kind of hinted it, or they were like, hey, well, maybe Dante needs to be on the Nintendo Switch if you guys want to see Dante in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So they kind of hinted that it was going to happen anyway, and here we go at this point. Now let's tackle the first issue here, and that's probably what everybody is asking, is why isn't the trilogy on the Nintendo Switch instead of just like the individual games? And I'm going to tell you guys the reason why. Because they know that they can capitalize on selling these games individually. That's the first thing foremost. They know they can capitalize on selling Devil May Cry, selling Devil May Cry 3, and selling Devil May Cry 4, and getting individually maybe $15 to $20 per each title, then selling all three of them in one, then selling Devil May Cry 4. And here's the biggest problem with Devil May Cry, the trilogy in one package. One, they know that Devil May Cry 2 sucks. That game is absolutely horrible, and in my opinion, it devalues the whole thing by selling it as a package, unless you're going to put that as a very cheap release, as in like $20 for all three games, and lose out in selling it individually, because there are people who will not buy that Devil May Cry package, even if it has Devil May Cry 2 in there, they will not buy that. So I personally feel that's the reason why they're separating it, because Devil May Cry 2 is just so bad. But also another reason why they're separating it is because of file space and expectations. They know good and well that this game probably isn't going to do crazy numbers on the Nintendo Switch, even with the trilogy, and the file space isn't going to warrant a cartridge. I mean, I just don't think they want to do that, considering this is the first time ever that Nintendo is getting this, and you can't kind of put everything on one cartridge because it's just not going to fit. I don't think Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3 would be under 16 gigabytes, so I just don't think that they want to do all of that work and get possibly only $20 to $30 for the game. So I just felt they just said, okay, let's just do it individually. One, because we can capitalize on that. Two, because Devil May Cry 2 is horrible and it devalues the package. And three, the file size is going to be a little bit of an issue here when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, that's really what's going on here, guys. The file size, being able to put all of those games on one cartridge under 16 gigabytes, it might run into issues. It might not, because these are necessarily PS2 games, but they do have the HD assets. So yeah, they are going to be a little bit bigger in file size than the original PS2 release and all of that. So to me, it makes sense that way. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people that would love to have it on like the trilogy on one cartridge, but they're just not going to do that just because of all the stuff that I just talked about here. But once again, I've talked about this before, and I said that Capcom probably shouldn't do a trilogy where they put Devil May Cry 2 in there, because it really ruins things. And looks like they listened to my videos and my live streams, because I really hate Devil May Cry 2, and I honestly feel that it devalues everything, and you wouldn't be able to put it at a price that is like affordable with it just because of doing all the work. So some people have also stated, well, does this mean if Devil May Cry 1 gets good sales, Devil May Cry 2 and 3 and 4 are going to come over? But I don't think it's really based on that. I think that they are already planning on doing Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, or whatever the case is, releasing them individually. I think they already planned on that, because if you go back to Capcom's earnings reports like in 2007 and 2018, they stated that they're going to be doing a lot of ports on the Nintendo Switch. They said they're going to continue porting over their games to Nintendo Switch, and we've seen that, right? We've seen Mega Man, we've seen Street Fighter, Resident Evil is coming out now at this point. We got Dragon's Dogma already on the Nintendo Switch, so this just falls in line with what they've already been saying, that they're going to be porting over their older catalog over to the Nintendo Switch based off of the good sales results of stuff like Resident Evil, based off of Monster Hunter, based off of all the stuff that they've already been porting over and making a good amount of money. It just makes sense that they finally bring over Devil May Cry. But I will say this, I'll kind of add on this to it. I think it took way too long. This should not be the first time ever a Devil May Cry comes to a Nintendo platform. I feel that that is ridiculous and a complete missight on Capcom's part to sit here in 2019, despite this franchise being nearly, what, 2 decades old at this point, and the first time ever that you have a Devil May Cry on a Nintendo platform is on the Nintendo Switch in 2019. That's ridiculous. Like, there should have been Devil May Cry on like the Wii or something like the original PS2 game, or there should have been Devil May Cry on the Wii U, or at least the Nintendo 3DS, some type of spin-off, or DS or something. I mean, heck, we got Ninja Gaiden on the DS and we got Ninja Gaiden on the Wii U, so I honestly feel that there should have been Devil May Cry sooner than that. But you know, minor complaints aside, I do think that this is a good thing. The more new or breaking franchises that have never appeared on a Nintendo system that you can get on the Switch, the better. And I think the biggest thing with this is going to be price for a lot of people. What is the price going to be for the original Devil May Cry? Once again, this is an old game at this point, right? It's the HD port from what they've already done. Anything over $20, and even at $20, some people might get a little upset with that, considering what you can get all 3 games on the PS4 and Xbox One and all that, and even on the PS3 and Xbox 360, considering how cheap that is for the disc on that one. But once again, it is Nintendo Switch. You guys know Capcom, they switch tax things at times. We saw this with Resident Evil, or we're seeing this with Resident Evil, the collection, and also Resident Evil 4 for an older game, $30 for that original Resident Evil 4. But we'll have to wait and see what they do with this one here. I'm hoping that it's more like a $15 release. I think if they did Devil May Cry 1, $15, skip Devil May Cry 2, go straight to Devil May Cry 3 for $15, and then Devil May Cry 4 for $15, I think that would be acceptable for many people. Now, there's still going to be people that are upset in terms of it not getting the trilogy and all that, and I think Capcom understands that, but given the circumstances and situation with this, I think that's what they're going to be going for. So I'm going to guess that this is going to be $15, but I would not be surprised if it is more than that. But I will definitely be picking it up just because, like I said, I do love the original Devil May Cry. I think that this was the beginning of that stylish action. I think that it's a symbolic type of game that we owe a lot of stuff to, right? When you look at Devil May Cry, stuff like the old school God of Wars or stuff like Bayonetta, all of that really started Hideki Kamiya and Devil May Cry. So it makes sense for them to finally release it on a Nintendo platform. And I think it's going to do well. I know the Bayonetta collection did well on the Switch, so I think that the Devil May Cry games, whenever they bring over the other ones, are going to do good too. So going forward, this is good. This is definitely good because we're seeing a lot of franchises that Capcom's never brought over to Nintendo platforms come over. Dragon's Dogma, like we talked about earlier. We also have this one too. I mean, we're even seeing other franchises from the different publishers, like Bethesda, bringing over some stuff that's never been on Nintendo platforms. We've gotten a lot of that on the Switch. Switch is breaking ground in so many different game franchises that have never came over. So that sets up the future, right? That sets up the future for the next Switch or for the next system that Nintendo's going to have to make sure that they get some of these franchises and start planting the seeds for an install base so we can get the next Devil May Cry or we can get the next collection that comes instead of having to wait years and years and years. But I did figure this would happen. Now, the one thing that I want to end out on is the whole Super Smash Brothers stuff. Does this mean that Dante could be in Smash Brothers? Does this mean that he has a chance? And I already stated this before because I already anticipated that Devil May Cry would come to the Nintendo Switch. If you watched my video on character predictions, Dante was one of those characters that I did have in there, and people were saying, wait a minute, there's no Devil May Cry on the Switch, and I was like, well, it's probably going to come to the Switch based on how the developers were talking earlier, and based on how the sales went, and based on what Capcom has already stated. So I do feel that Dante is going to make it into Smash via DLC. I feel that he's going to make it in there. Capcom and Nintendo, believe it or not, actually do have a great relationship. They're one of the people that got Nintendo to make the Switch have more RAM. So you know they have a good relationship with Nintendo. And on top of that, they've been porting over a lot of games over to the platform, and those games have been making a lot of money for Capcom and for Nintendo when it comes to royalties. So I do think that Dante is going to get in, and I think that there doesn't need to be the most recent Devil May Cry on the platform as of the announcement, right? Like whenever they do announce it, there doesn't need to be that. Just as long as the franchise is on there or announced in some way, shape, or form on the Nintendo Switch or the platform, I think that you're going to see these Fighters Pass characters have a shot, right? So I think Dante definitely has that shot. Dante definitely has that shot, and we could see that Dante is the next character announced for Super Smash Brothers. But like I said, I already thought that before this announcement. You guys can check out the video. I'll have it linked for you guys at the end, or also maybe even in the description, so you guys can see that video. But I already had Dante as one of the characters I think that was going to be in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so this doesn't necessarily confirm it more for me, but it kind of just says, well, maybe my plan in terms of what's going on here is going to fall in line. So that's my thought process, guys. We'll definitely talk about it more in P Lives and other videos as well. So what do you guys think about all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Go and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to PlayerEssence for this RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.